Okay, so today we're going to deep dive into something that's becoming more and more crucial, and that is digital skills.
Yeah.
It's not just about knowing how to, use a computer anymore.
Right.
It's a whole different ballgame.
It really is.
So whether you're, someone who's like super tech savvy or someone who's like just starting to dip their toes into the digital world, I think there's going to be something here for everyone.
Absolutely.
Because we're going to break down, exactly what these digital skills are, why they're so important, and, how they can really benefit you in kind of all aspects of your life.
Yeah. And what's interesting is, we were looking at this article and it really emphasizes that digital skills are not just for techies anymore. They're for everyone.
Yeah.
And, it's not just about, being able to, post on social media or send an email.
Right.
It's about being able to use these tools to solve problems, to be more efficient, to, really thrive in this digital world.
Absolutely.
So let's kind of unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, let's dive in.
So when we talk about digital skills, what exactly are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, the article actually does a really good job of breaking it down into these different categories.
Uh-huh.
And the first one that they talk about is, these basic digital skills.
Right.
And these are things like, being able to use social media effectively, knowing how to manage files in the cloud, being comfortable, searching for information online, those kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, these are the things that we probably do every day without even thinking about it. But it's important to recognize that these are skills.
Exactly.
And that, there's always room for improvement.
Absolutely.
And then we move into kind of the next level, which are workplace digital skills.
Yeah.
And this is where things start to get a little bit more specialized.
Yeah.
So we're talking about things like, being able to use a CRM platform or customer relationship management system, data visualization tools. Project management software, things like that.
Yeah, the tools that you're actually going to be using in a lot of different jobs these days.
Exactly. And the thing is, these tools are constantly evolving.
Right.
So it's not just about, learning how to use one specific tool. It's about being able to adapt to new tools as they come out.
Yeah, that adaptability is key.
Absolutely. And then we have kind of the top tier, if you will, which are the advanced digital skills.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting.
And this is where we're talking about things like cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and software development.
Yeah.
And I think, a lot of people might hear those terms and think, oh, that's way too advanced for me.
Right.
I could never do that. But,
Right.
The reality is that these fields are becoming more and more accessible. And there are a lot of resources available for people who want to learn more.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to be, a computer science whiz to be able to dip your toes into these areas.
Sure.
And, the thing that the article really emphasizes is that these digital skills are not just for people who work in tech.
Right.
They're for everyone.
Yeah.
Whether you're a teacher or a nurse or a mechanic or an artist, digital skills are becoming increasingly important in every profession.
It's almost like a core competency now, isn't it?
It really is.
I mean, you can't really do much of anything without having some level of digital literacy.
Exactly. And the article cites a statistic that I thought was really eye-opening, which is that 9 out of 10 jobs now require some level of digital literacy.
Wow.
So that's huge.
That's a lot.
That's saying that, if you want to be competitive in the job market today, you need to have these skills.
Absolutely. And it's not just about getting a job. It's about, keeping your job as well.
Right.
Because as automation and AI become more and more prevalent, the jobs that don't require digital skills are going to be the ones that are most likely to be automated.
Exactly.
So it's really about future-proofing your career.
Yeah, and the article also talks about how digital skills can help you be more efficient.
Oh, absolutely.
And more productive in your work.
Yeah.
So, imagine being able to automate all of those tedious tasks that you have to do every day.
Right.
And being able to focus on the work that really matters. That's what digital skills can do for you.
I think that resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because, who wants to spend their day doing, data entry or, sending out the same email over and over again?
No.
When you could be, using those digital skills to, analyze data and come up with, creative solutions to problems.
Exactly.
So I think that's a really compelling argument for, why these skills are so important.
Yeah. And I think it's also important to point out that digital skills are not just for work.
Right.
They can also benefit you in your personal life. being able to manage your finances online, being able to stay connected with friends and family, being able to find information that you need.
Right.
All of these things are made easier with digital skills.
Yeah, it's almost like digital skills are a form of literacy at this point.
It really is.
It's like, you wouldn't go through life not knowing how to read or write.
Right.
And in the same way, you really can't go through life today without having at least some basic digital skills.
Absolutely.
So let's do a little bit of a digital skills self-assessment here.
Hey.
How would you say you are with things like spreadsheets and databases?
I would say I'm pretty comfortable with those.
Okay.
I use spreadsheets pretty regularly. I've dabbled in databases a little bit. But I'm always looking to learn more.
Absolutely.
Because there's always new things coming out.
Right.
How about you?
I'm similar. I'm comfortable enough to get by.
Okay.
But I'm certainly not an expert.
Oh.
And I think, one area where I could definitely improve is on, data visualization. Being able to take that data and turn it into something that's visually appealing and easy to understand.
Right.
So how about collaboration tools?
Yeah, collaboration tools. I love those.
Yeah.
I use things like Slack and Trello and Notion all the time. And I find them to be incredibly helpful for staying organized and working with others.
Yeah, me too.
How about you?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of those as well.
Yeah.
I think they've really revolutionized the way that we work.
They have.
But, one area where I think we could both probably benefit from learning more is on, data privacy and cybersecurity.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Because it's becoming increasingly important.
Absolutely.
With all of the data breaches and hacks that we're seeing these days.
Yeah.
It's really essential to have a good understanding of how to protect yourself online.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people think that cybersecurity is just for, IT professionals.
Right.
But the reality is that everyone needs to be aware of these issues.
Absolutely.
And take steps to protect themselves.
Yeah, so that's definitely something that I'm going to be focusing on learning more about.
Me too.
And then lastly, let's talk about AI tools and automation.
Okay.
This is an area that's really exploding right now.
It is.
There are so many new tools and platforms coming out all the time.
Right.
Have you had a chance to explore any of these?
Yeah, I've been playing around with ChatGPT a little bit. It's pretty amazing what it can do.
Yeah.
I've used it to help me with some writing tasks. And I've even used it to, generate some ideas for new projects.
Oh, that's cool.
Have you had a chance to use it?
I haven't yet, but it's definitely on my list.
Yeah, you should check it out.
And I think, tools like that are really going to change the way that we work and the way that we live in the years to come.
Yeah, and I think the takeaway from all of this is that digital skills are essential for success in today's world.
Yeah.
And they're not just for techies. They're for everyone.
Right.
And the good news is that they're learnable.
Absolutely.
You don't need to go back to school or get a degree